You join me today beside the Fenland River in the pursuit of large rudd. It's now midsummer and my attention turns to that species. It's been really hot. As everyone knows, we've had heat waves and it's been dreadful for the fishing. So there's only really two species that I like to target, and that's the eels, which are normally quick night sessions, and the rudd. And there's nowhere better than on the Fens. There's so much water to target on the Fens. It's great. You've got drains, you've got dikes, you've got loads, and then you've got the main rivers that run through. Depending on who you speak to, the real Fens are a bit further north to where we are today, a bit more barren, a bit more wild, but where we are is fantastic, beautiful river fishing, and there are some big rudd to be had if you can find them. Although there are big rudd in these waters, they are hard to find. There's not many of them. These are fish that have survived everything against the odds and have grown and thinned out. And it's usually small shoals of 4, 5, 6 fish that grow to enormous proportions, and we're talking up to and over 3 pounds. The waters around here and the rivers are usually crystal clear. There's a variety of weed species in them. You get a lot of pennywort. You also get duckweed, which can be, especially with this heat, it really has grown, I've noticed, on the rivers, and it can make things quite difficult when trying to target fish. For me, I just love the rawness of the Fens. I just love the landscape, the way the rivers meander through it and the drains that cut across. And there's just such an enormous amount of water to target these fish in. They have so many places to hide. I think it's just the perfect challenge for the specimen hunter. Oh, that is ridiculous. Look at the size of it. That's a proper wild one, mate. That's a big one. It's like 2. I'm gonna go 2.5 probably. So I've now been visiting the Fens for nearly 10 years. So I've done a decade of fishing. I'm from Kent, so that's not solid fishing, and there's been a few years where I've only dabbled. I've been after that elusive 3-pounder, which I can tell you, they are elusive. There's not many of them. I've had a number of threes from still waters, which is fantastic, and they're amazing fish, but I would dearly, dearly love one from one of these river systems. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wonder what the noise was. You won't believe what's in my roves bag. There's a full-grown hedgehog actually in. It's in my bivvy. Oh, my roves bag. Eating all my bread. Oh, you just got eaten away. Oh, there is. Yeah. You're the boy. So I usually do my rudd fishing, as in float rudd fishing on the river or the drains. I usually do that in the summer months, so it's June, July, August. I have fished in the autumn, but that's when they tend to start shoaling up and they'll move into marinas and slacker water. And you can actually have some really good hits of fish, but again, they're a lot harder to locate. So these months, they're moving about, they're moving down the rivers, and so they're mobile, and so you could be mobile too. And you know, I love that mobile approach. You're not just sitting behind rods, you're constantly moving, you're constantly thinking, and you're constantly finding. I think it's really important that if you're going to come up this way and have a go for them, you're prepared. It's really simple fishing, which is another reason I love it, because there's nothing really to it. But you have to have Polaroids. That's so important to look through the water and try to spot the fish that you're targeting. But just make sure that you've got a decent float rod and reel, usually 5-pound mainline straight through, and then just your basics. You're out in the heat, so sun cream, hat. You know, there's no point in going out fishing and getting sick and having heat stroke and being knocked out for a week. Now that's not fun, so just make sure you've got the right kit if you're going to come up here, because you really are out in the wilderness, so there's not many people about to support you if something goes wrong, especially if you're on the boat. I'm usually fishing with 13, even 14-foot float rods off the bank, and that's so that I can get the line lay and correct it as I trot the float down. Being on a boat, it's in a very confined area. You're pulling up to the bank and the rod tip can get caught when it's over the edge, and you need something a lot pokier. So I had a chat with Drennan, and they sent me a couple of acolyte specimen float rods in 11 and 12 foot. And the 11 foot is absolutely perfect for the job, and that's the one I've been using this season.
It's another one on the acolyte float rod, specimen. Big upper two. Rudd. Cracking fish.
There are many different ways you can fish for the rudd on these rivers. Feeder fishing is very popular. I like to do that in the autumn. I have actually been out this summer on the boat and raked a couple of spots. I managed to get hold of a huge industrial sized rake of one of my friends that I had to launch in the water and basically clear a spot, which I managed to do successfully. Put a bit of bait on it, and within 5–10 minutes we had a couple of tench milling about on the bottom, so it was doing its job and it was working. I then decided to moor the boat to a bit of sheet piling actually on the river and sit there with the rods and stay the night. I actually slept on the boat under the stars. I saw 3 shooting stars. It was lovely being out there on my own in the middle of the wilderness basically. And I had a couple of big rudd in the morning, up to about 2.5, 2.6. I only weighed one of them, which was the 2.6, but the other one wasn't far behind. Amazing fish, a different method, but it worked. It's not my favourite method, but if I'm fishing in tonight, that's my go-to. The main method I like to employ when fishing for these rudd is on the float and being mobile, moving about. Really simple tactics. So it's just 5-pound line straight through to a size 8 or 10 hook. Now, you may think 8 or 10 hook, that's enormous, but these are big fish, and we don't want to catch the small ones. We don't want to, every time we cast out, reel in a 2–3 ounce fish, because believe me, there's plenty of them in there. There's so many. You're not going to get your bait out there long enough for a big rudd to come along and take it, and that's the name of the game. So I like to use a big hook, usually with a big bit of bread on it, slow sinking or floating, depends how the fish are having it. So the approach I would do is get out on the boat at night. So we're talking 3 o'clock in the morning, start. Down the river, get to my spot, and then just row. And anchor up, and then what I'll do is I'll get some bread and rip it up into a number of different pieces, and then basically just throw it off the boat, facing downriver. And you're going to watch that just float the whole way down, and the small rudd will come up and start pecking at that, and that's going to attract the bigger fish, and hopefully that will go past a shoal of big old fish and they'll take interest and start taking it off the surface. When that happens, it is the most exciting fishing going, because you're seeing them take this bread and they're rolling. It's just getting light, big ripples, no mistaking that they're big fish. If you put a bait on them, you're going to have them. So that's pretty much a dead cert in that situation. And I think floating or slow sinking bread during that spell is unbeatable. As the day progresses, however, the rudd tend to go slightly deeper. So I like to fish sweet corn or sinking bread actually through the water columns. This can depend on how deep the actual river is, but you know, if you're on a boat and you're floating past, you can have a look, you can see where and what sort of depth to set your float and what sort of depth to fish. So we've managed to find a couple of fish, and they are so cagey. As soon as you drift over, they just dart straight down into the weed. So you really have to look and spot them quickly, because they don't mess about, and that's really important. If you can locate them, you've got a real good chance of catching them, because they usually like to hang around the same area and then move off. So We'll go back to that spot. We marked it up and we'll give it a go. Definitely do that. Definitely do a few trots, because you normally find that the bigger fish are hanging down underneath the smaller ones. So it's always worth a shout. So this morning, Rich and I went out on the boat, went searching for rudd. I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge. You know, it's one of those really hot days again. We gave it a good go. It was always going to be a big ask, and to cut a long story short, we didn't get a monster, but we caught lots of lovely little rudd, which is the future of this fishing. I mean, these are the fish that are going to make it through and then hopefully become these incredible creatures that we're targeting. But do you know what? Any day out on the river, on a boat, is a day well spent. There are a number of floats that I've used for this type of fishing, from the muggler floats to crystal wagglers and the high vis. They all suit different scenarios. The muggler floats are great from the bank because you can get a lot of weight behind it and ping it out to fish showing maybe on the far side. Being on the boat, I'm usually centre of the river, so my go-to is a crystal waggler with the interchangeable tips, because I always fish with a glow light, especially when it's getting dark or it's getting light. So I think it's really important to be able to change those tips. I also have the float on an adapter, so if I do see a fish that's further out, or I do need to get a bit more weight behind it, I can just quickly change it, simple as that. Crystal waggler, and that works perfectly. When you're locating the rudd, I like to boat out to past where I'm going to be fishing, up to the top of the stretch that you're fishing, and then float down river and basically just glide, so as stealthy as possible, just using the oars to guide yourself down. Polaroids, looking into the water and trying to locate these fish, because there's not many of them. They're rare beasts, and you're fishing for ghosts if you can't see them, so you want to locate them. Yes, they can swim and they can move off, but you've got a chance then, and you can quietly anchor up in a position where you can get bait to them. And I've had many fish doing that, so it's well worth a go. I spend limited time in a swim when fishing for these monster rudd, because you usually know if they're there or not quite quickly. Not only do they show themselves, as I mentioned early morning, if you've got bread out on the surface, you'll know if they're there, because they will start taking it. If you're fishing deeper down in the water and you haven't actually spotted too many fish, I usually give it about 10 or 15 minutes, and that suffices really, and I'm more than happy to move off and try another spot if I haven't had one by then. And that's the beauty about having a boat. You can literally just up anchor, turn around and go find a different spot. I've had a number of really good rudd this season on both feeder and float methods, most of them on the float, but it's been fantastic, especially with the new boat. I've been getting up at sort of 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, creeping onto the boat, just trying not to make hardly any noise, sleeping in the wilderness or on the boat, and then going down river to hunt them. That £3 rudd has eluded me, but do you know what? I've had an absolute blast. It's been one of the best summer's fishing I've had to date. I've caught a number of twos, lots of upper twos, incredible looking fish, explored some amazing waterways, and I can't wait to get back here next year.